Before we get into it, if you care about the hard mechanics of survival, real history, and how ordinary people adapted when systems failed, subscribe to Warpaths of Europe, like this video, and leave a comment with the preservation methods that surprised you most. This channel exists for people who want substance, not surface-level history. Now, let's get straight into it. Food preservation became a daily discipline, not a hobby. During the Great Depression, especially across Europe's war-scarred regions, food preservation was not seasonal or optional. It was a daily routine shaped by scarcity, rationing, and the memory of famine. Families preserved food constantly because supply lines were unstable and money was unreliable. The goal was continuity. A household had to ensure calories were available tomorrow, next month, and through winter. Preservation methods were chosen for reliability, not convenience, and they were layered together so that failure in one method did not mean starvation. Root cellars and cool storage formed the backbone of survival. Across Central and Eastern Europe, root cellars were indispensable. Potatoes, turnips, carrots, beets, apples and cabbages were stored in cool, dark, humid conditions that slowed decay without freezing. These spaces were often dug into hillsides or reinforced basements lined with straw and sand. Vegetables were sorted constantly, with damaged ones removed immediately to prevent rot from spreading. This practice alone saved entire harvests. A modern application is straightforward. Any cool, unheated space with stable temperature can replicate this system using crates, breathable containers, and regular inspection. Drying and dehydration turned surplus into long-term insurance. Drying food was one of the most widespread preservation techniques because it required no fuel once set up. In southern and eastern Europe, fruits were sliced thin and dried on racks in attics, barns, or above stoves. Mushrooms were threaded on strings. Herbs were bundled and hung. Meat was dried into strips when salt was available. The key was airflow and patience. Dried food reduced weight, resisted spoilage, and could be rehydrated into soups and stews. Today, this method translates directly to air-drying racks, solar dehydrators, or even low-temperature ovens when electricity is unreliable. Fermentation provided nutrition when fresh food was gone. It wasn't really done for flavor, you know. It was done for survival. Sauerkraut, pickled cucumbers, fermented beets, and sour milk products gave people vital vitamins during winter, when all the fresh produce had disappeared. Cabbage barrels, they were a common sight across Germany, Poland and the Balkans. These were weighed down with stones and checked every single day. Fermented foods resisted spoilage, improved digestion, and helped prevent deficiencies. Even today, households can do this by fermenting vegetables with nothing more than salt and thyme. No refrigeration needed, and you get shelf-stable nutrition just like that. Salting and curing meat, that preserved protein without any need for refrigeration. Meat preservation was handled with the utmost care, since animal slaughter was both rare and expensive. Pork was the most commonly cured because, honestly, every part could be used. Salt was rubbed into cuts, then hung in cool spaces, or sometimes smoked just a bit to extend its shelf life. Blood sausages, head cheese and foods made from organs meant nothing was ever wasted. Fat was rendered into lard, which became a staple for cooking and a reserve of calories. These days, small-scale curing with salt and good airflow can still keep meat safe when refrigeration is limited, as long as you pay attention to cleanliness and timing. Canning and bottling, well, they locked entire harvests into glass and metal. Where jars were available, families would bottle vegetables, fruits, and even meats. Water bath canning was usually used for acidic foods, while pressure methods were, improvised for others. In Eastern Europe, bottling soups, compotes and stewed fruits meant families could preserve whole meals, not just ingredients. Jars were reused over and over, and if the rubber seals failed, folks would fix them up with wax or cloth. Today, home canning with the right equipment is still one of the most reliable ways to preserve food for the long term, especially when supply chains get a bit shaky. Nothing was wasted because, well, waste meant vulnerability. Peels, bones and scraps were reused systematically. Vegetable trimmings became soup stock, and bones were boiled repeatedly until all nutrients were extracted. Stale bread was dried and ground into crumbs, or sometimes soaked and fried. Animal feed was made from kitchen waste to sustain chickens or pigs, creating a sort of closed loop of food production. Even spoiled food was repurposed where possible, fermented further, or fed to livestock. This mindset is directly applicable today through stock making, composting, and intentional meal planning. Community knowledge replaced formal education. Preservation skills were passed orally through observation and repetition. Neighbours shared techniques, warned of spoilage, and exchanged preserved goods to balance diets. This informal network was absolutely critical during wartime disruptions when official guidance failed. For modern survivalists and historians, this really highlights the importance of shared knowledge and local skill networks rather than dependence on centralised systems. Practical application for modern households is actually simpler than it looks. A household today can adopt Depression-era preservation by combining cool storage, drying, fermentation, and minimal canning. Start with vegetables that store well, preserve surplus immediately and rotate stock continuously. The principle here is not stockpiling, but steady conversion of fresh food into stable calories. This system reduces waste, increases resilience, and, builds real food security. The families of the Great Depression survived not because they were lucky, but because they treated food as infrastructure. Every peel mattered, every jar counted, every method overlapped another to reduce risk. That mindset remains relevant now. If this guide added real value to your understanding of survival history, subscribe to Warpaths of Europe, share this video with others who take history seriously, and leave a comment with the preservation method you plan to try. This knowledge only stays alive if it's passed on.